Nelson Mandela said, after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. I'm Dr. Elizabeth A. Carter, and I believe when we reach the top of a great hill and we have letters before or after our name, we think we have made it. I know I did, or I thought I had. How many of you thought you had an easy goal but ran into challenges? While I stand at the top of my hill today with my PhD, I reflect on an interim hill that nearly crushed my confidence and my possibilities. Back in 2009, I relocated for a job as a finance director. I knew I was ready. I had 2 master's degrees, 15 years experience. I thought I knew the steps to take that would elevate me to a vice president in 5 years. While every year I was told I was doing a great job, after 7 years, I wasn't vice president of anything. As a matter of fact, the only things that were elevated was my blood pressure, my cholesterol, and my weight. And there was no one further up on the hill that looked like me that I could use as a sounding board. No one to lend me a hand or throw me a rope. And as I sat thinking that this can't be it, I knew that there was more for me. How many of you have had that feeling? And when I finally thought it was the perfect time for a change, change was made for me. It was February 2016, and my supervisor, Mary, called me into her office. Now, working in finance, I had done the budget, which included some layoffs in June. But at the same time, there's always opportunities for star performers, which I thought was me. So she calls me in. I am prancing down the hall, grinning ear to ear, thinking, this is it. I played the waiting game and I have won. I sit down in my normal chair in her office, and today the chair felt a little uncomfortable, which was the precursor for the conversation. To my surprise, I was one of the 6 being terminated in June. Have you ever been blindsided? How many times have you ignored the signs or the commercials or the history and said, nah, that would never happen to me? But it did. And there were no options for retainment, reassignment, or relocation. My hill had just become a mountain. My possibilities suddenly vanished. Now, Nelson said there would be hills to climb, but I didn't realize that there would be mountains too. And some of you may experience in your own life coming out of a valley and feeling like you've made it, only to find a bigger hurdle in front of you. I was angry, confused, defeated, disappointed, and frustrated. I had to leave the office and go straight home. I was so upset. And when I arrived home, I called Miss Ella, one of my personal advisors. Do you have someone in your life you can call at the darkest point in your journey? She provided me words of clarity and revitalization. She said, you have what I call PTLD, procrastinated too long, dear. And she was right. And that was tough to hear. But I was waiting and hoping to be seen and heard, hoping to be valued, hoping to be promoted, hoping to reach the top of my great hill. But it didn't happen for me. And I had plenty of time to think about that because it was 15 months after June 30th before I got back on my feet. But I wasn't going to settle. I knew that to ensure that my possibilities were unlimited, I had to be the CEO of my career. C, in control. E, executing extraordinarily every day so that O, the outcomes would be in my favor. Are you the CEO of your career? Let me share with you the 5 steps I took during those 15 months that took me from devastation of dependency to securing my LLC, finding a new job, and finishing that PhD. Number 1, relax. Take a trip, holiday, and rest your mind. Needing the rest and distraction, soon after June 30th, I took me and my bruised ego to Toronto, Canada. It was Caravana at that time, and one of my good friends asked me to travel with her and her family for that event. It was wonderful. Watching the celebration, the creativity of the costumes, the innovation of the dance routines, everyone being free in their skin, helped me realize 2 things. First, I may not have a real reason to complain. But second, I have a right not to be complacent where I am. Are you in complacent mode right now? Number 2, reflect. Once your mind is at ease, all the great ideas start to flow. Now, at that time, I was like many of you, frustrated and tired of the discrimination, not getting true feedback, putting my destiny in someone else's hands, and I wanted to go out on my own. I wanted to serve other ambitious corporate employees, to learn from my mistakes. I wanted to be that sounding board, someone that looked like them, that could throw them a hand and lend them a rope. I wanted to share my lessons learned. Who have you been called to serve? 3, research. With my why of serving others, I now began to research how to start a business. I took my money from my savings, got my business license in my LLC, had a really cool name in mind, Appeal, which really is about being more attractive and appealing to your company, and at the same time, ensuring that you're clear on the 4 pillars of success: performance, engagement, analytics, and leadership. Now, the challenge with research is that there is so much information out there. You could get lost, confused, and overwhelmed. But for me as a life learner, it was so interesting, but I knew I needed help. Which brings me to step number 4, invest. We don't know what we don't know. And while my aspirations were high about getting started with a business, my knowledge, resources, and customer base were low. I was attending networking sessions trying to promote myself, and I met someone who said, you should invest in a coach. Now, usually we either have time and no money, or money and no time. But what we have to always remember is that whatever you're missing, you have to figure it out. We take time and effort for what's important to us. At that time, I was still unemployed, self-funding my PhD, but I knew I needed the help. I took a cash advance on my credit card and used some of my savings to invest in a coach. I had already downsized my expenses. I stopped going to the movies, stopped eating out, stopped shopping, things that were really irrelevant because I knew that an investment in long-term value far outweighed spending on short-term entertainment. When was the last time you invested in your own growth? And 5, sacrifice. Now, as much as I wanted to get started in my own business and do it full time, my coach suggested that the timing wasn't right. That I should go back and find full-time employment using my strengths of finance and leadership and diversity, equity, inclusion, and do 2 things. First of all, continue to hone in on my strengths and use that as guidance in working with my business customers. Secondly, the salary would continue to pay my bills and become my silent investor in my business. And that gave me a new attitude when I went to work every day. I knew the job was not the end all be all. I knew that every day I was adding value to the company and myself. And I've met so many wonderful people inside the organization and outside as I continue to grow my contacts and my network. Are you ready to become the CEO of your career? Reminder, here are the steps. Relax, reflect, research, invest, and sacrifice. Today is your January 1st. Don't get caught with PTLD. Procrastinate no more. We know that there are so many symptoms that keep us stuck in our hill. Let's work to become the CEO of ourselves and move forward. Connect with me, Dr. Elizabeth A. Carter, your career doctor. I'm here to help you elevate your value in 2022. Reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, and also at LinkedIn. Let's proudly rejoice Mr. Mandela, become the CEO of our career, and reach for our hills and push through mountains. Thank you.